All right, so week 6 picks up upon us now, and again, I'll give you the option of going first or telling me whether you want me to pick first. Friday night, we will be at the Air Canada Centre, the Edmonton Rush, with local coach Derek Keenan coming in, Gavin Prout, to play the Rock.
Mm-hmm. This one scares me. Of all the games this week, this one has me a little bit flummoxed, I guess. There's going to be a lot of local people in the seats this week because there's a lot of local representation on the team. Gavin Prout, Derek Keenan, Ian Crashley from nearby Newcastle, Orono. I think these guys, and this is the case too, people are going to play their hearts out in front of their families, and Edmonton's going to win this one.
Oh, for the first time this season, you oh my goodness! You know what?
I'm putting my undefeated record as the announcer on the line here.
This is true, actually, and I'm still undefeated as well.
Yes.
To a lesser degree than you, so I'm the undercard on this one. I'm going to actually pick Toronto. You know what? At home, Toronto has been near flawless, let's say. The game against Boston, when Boston lost all their big stars, took Boston to overtime to beat them. But other than that, I mean, and that was kind of a weird game. Other than that, they've looked really, really solid at home. I do like Edmonton. I just don't know that they can match up player for player all the way down the Rock lineup. So I'm going to take Toronto on that one.
Well, I'm wrong. Oh well.
Saturday night, Buffalo at Philadelphia, and that is at the Wachovia Center.
Philadelphia.
I agree, and Buffalo, again, a couple weeks ago, they looked like maybe they had turned things around. Last week, Toronto goes down there. I just think that's a team in disarray right now, and Philadelphia might be a little bit hungry after not playing last Saturday night. Their last game, not a great showing in Toronto. As well, Saturday night, Washington goes into Minnesota.
They played them last week and lost. I'm going to pick Minnesota and the home team on this one. Washington goes down to his first defeat of the season.
Very, very close game there, but you know what? Washington won the game as well. I'm going to stick with Washington until they lose a game on me here.
Okay.
I'm going to stick with Washington and take them in that one as well. And this is an afternoon game on the Saturday. Boston goes into Rochester, a rematch of last week as well.
Boston at Rochester. Rochester's going to be mad. I know the Rochester Nighthawks fans are not pleased with their product this year.
So far.
So far. I went to Rochester and watched them, but they played well at home. They're not playing very well on the road. Boston, darn it. Boston.
I'm going to take Rochester again. Home team, rematch of last week. This kind of falls into the same category as a while back when Toronto hosted Rochester, annihilated them. The following weekend they were down there again, and Rochester played well. Different team at home than I think on the road. Final game of the night, Sunday evening. Troy Cordingley and Mr. Sanderson go back home to face the team that they once coached.
Yeah, well, you know, they're going to be really pumped for this one.
Who?
The coaching staff.
And who else?
And
the home team.
The home team as well. You know, they're going to want to beat their ex-bosses. But I don't think Calgary's that good this year. And Toronto, after maybe having a rough time on Friday night, they've got a day to travel. So I picked the Rock in this one.
That one there, I'm going to take Calgary.
Okay.
You and I are going to disagree on a lot of picks this week. I think going back in there, it's going to be a very highly emotional game for Troy and for Terry. I think their team will rally, but I think Calgary has got a pretty good team this year. And just like all the other teams, and I keep saying this all year, they're at home. They've got the home crowd. It's going to be a very emotional time, and I think that Calgary will pull that one out in the end.
Okay.
That's the NLL for this week. That's our fearless picks, and I do apologize out there, and I know you kind of gave me a little bit of the gears last week. I still haven't updated the picks from 2 weeks ago, so I don't know who's where and who's what. I think I'm still ahead of you, and that's all that counts for me. But I will update that in the next little while, and going into this weekend at least we'll know kind of where everybody stands. So I wanted to switch gears a little bit here and just briefly talk. It's been a week and a half now, a week and a half Sunday. The Major Series Lacrosse Draft was held at Iroquois Park in Whitby. The 7 Major Series Lacrosse summer teams were all there represented. And I guess, to say the least, it was a little bit of a schmozzle, a little bit of a surprise on how everything turned out.
Yeah, St. Regis folding, dispersal draft, and Deep Pockets up in Peterborough bought some of the big stars from that team and really loaded up for next year. There's been a lot of moaning back and forth about it's not fair. It's going to be the demise of the major series. But harkening back 30 years ago, there was saying could have been said that it was a all Brampton-Brooklyn league in those days, with Brooklyn being the guys with all the stars. I was telling Gary a little earlier, I did some math last night, and if you figure Peterborough is going to draw 3,500 people at $15 a head average for 10 home games, 4 playoffs, and 4 Man Cup games, it works out to their gate is going to be over $1 million. And using the business model of 66% is for operating costs, they still come away with like $350,000 in their pockets after it's over. So it's, to me, rather than in the spirit of the game, they've gone for the money thing instead, and I feel bad about that.
Yeah, and you know what? It's been a week and a half for me, and I've really hopped around on this issue. I guess the one thing I want to be very clear of is I don't hold any ill will towards Peterborough. They're in the position that they can, so they do. That sort of thing's been going on, as you said, for years and years and years. Right in our own backyard. Gary and Paul Gate played here in Brooklyn in the late 80s. I know they didn't do it out of the goodness of their hearts or because they love the Whitby area.
Yeah.
They were obviously receiving compensation, and lo and behold, Brooklyn won a few Man Cups there. Ironically, there's somebody on the fan forum in the last few days has put up the whole transgression of how everything has gone on in the last 20 to 25 years, and everybody was calling it a 2-team league. First it was Brooklyn and Brampton with Peterborough the bottom feeder. Then it was Brooklyn and Peterborough with the Brampton as the bottom feeder. Now it's Brampton and Peterborough with Brooklyn as the bottom feeder, so it just keeps kind of going in a vicious circle. The one thing that does concern me, though, is that the state of the game is being compromised because of this. Yeah. And understanding wholeheartedly, and I've made this comment on our chat forum, I don't expect NLL lacrosse players to come and play in the major series for free because they're getting paid to play in the NLL. But this is still an amateur association. There is supposed to be no fees being paid to any of these players. And I mean, just with everything that goes along with that. So at the end of the day, what is the right thing to do? I don't know that anybody has the right answer, because if you don't pay anything, you're not going to get the top names in the game.
Well, I know from a discussion with a top NLL manager, he's no longer in the game, is that the NLL absolutely hates the OLA and the WLA because their perception is that these players are their chattel, and that they have asked some of these players to sign into their contracts that they will not play for anyone else. But so far, a lot of these guys, because of their Canadian pride or the pride in the history of the Man Cup, have said, no, I'm not going to do that. But I think it will come to a day where they'll say, no, you can't make your mind up, one or the other. And now we will have the major series will become a senior B league.
Yeah. Well, and you know what, in fairness to the player, I agree with the players on that stance. The players do get paid to play in the NLL. It's a known fact. They have contracts, the whole 9 yards. But these guys, they don't make enough off that to survive. So my position as a player would be fine. If you want me to dedicate myself to you, Mr. NLL owner, that's fine. But you're going to pay me what I would need to get to survive for the year.
Yeah.
By all means, I'll pull myself in a major series lacrosse. But again, I mean, from the standpoint of the fan of the game, you want to see all the big names in the major series lacrosse.
Yeah.
But realistically, you're not going to see them if those guys aren't getting something in their pocket. Now we have an issue where, to some degree, every team in the major series is giving something to their players. But I think it's fairly obvious that when you look down the lineups, you can see who's giving more than who.
Yes.
And right or wrong, the two teams that are going to be left standing at the end for the playoffs to go in to see who plays in the Man Cup.
Peterborough runs a great show, and they should be proud of what they do. They got a beautiful facility, but so does Brampton. But Brampton draws squat, and now they've lost their big sponsor, their big $100,000 a year sponsor. I don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah.
Well, we'll just have to wait and see, and hope that everybody makes it through. And who knows? Maybe some of these other lesser valued teams, they just might knock Peterborough off. Who knows? And there goes their business plan.
Anything can happen, and we've seen these teams in junior ranks together.
It'd be great.
So, on behalf of Ron Messer, who is...
Well, go to a lacrosse game near you soon, and, come on, fans, come on back to the NLL. We really need you.
Gary Mark reminding everybody out there to stay safe, be good, and keep your stick in the air.
Ding.